video, we will discuss various types of educational experiences that a person could learn through. It is likely that you have probably experienced one or more of each of these types of learning, and you should be thinking about how each of these types relates to your own professional and personal experiences. First, we will talk about formal learning experiences. These experiences are organized and structured, they have learning objectives, and they're intentional. These are organized activities that are intentionally educational, meaning that people are supposed to learn from them. That is what they're designed for. The learner sets out to learn something by following an instructional plan that they or someone else has set forth. These educational experiences usually grant some sort of academic credit or other credential. As I'm sure you've already surmised, some manifestations of formal educational experiences would include K-12 learning, traditional college courses, or credit-bearing online courses. Some other examples could be externships and internships, residencies, clinicals, research projects, service learning projects, simulations, and other types of experiential training. The key thread here is that all of these formal learning projects and experiences are organized, intentional, and led by an instructional plan. They are not happenstance, and they usually result in some sort of credential or credit, although that is not always the case. Another type of learning activity that often appears in formal learning contexts would be deliberative education. Examples of deliberative education include speeches, mock trials, debates, role-playing, panel discussions, roundtable presentations, and more. These activities are intended to get students communicating and discussing and debating with one another and maximizing their participation in the process of learning. Non-formal learning, on the other hand, is more loosely defined, and it involves structured learning situations that are not necessarily led by some sort of curriculum or instructional plan. Often, these types of learning situations do not result in credit or any sort of certification, although sometimes that is not the case. For example, many continuing education seminars result in what's called continuing education units, or certifications. A great example of a non-formal learning experience would be a professional conference. Often at professional conferences, there's a keynote speaker and people go to various different breakout sessions. While the sessions and speakers most likely have some sort of outline for what they are going to cover in their presentations, there isn't an overall instructional strategy dictating what a person is supposed to learn and get out of the entire conference. In fact, people are going to participate in different sessions, so people are going to get different things out of the conference as a whole. In other words, there are not overarching learning objectives for each person to accomplish throughout the course of the entire conference. Professional development and training programs through work or seminars and symposiums for personal enrichment purposes also fall under the category of non-formal learning. Informal learning is also unorganized, also lacks specific learning objectives, and also can be unintentional. Informal learning is often that which occurs simply by living or through experience, so to speak. It's a term that can describe when you learn something on your own without meaning to, with no credential involved. In fact, when you learn without meaning to, that can be referred to as implicit learning, which is one type of informal learning. One example of implicit learning would be a child learning the meaning of words by observing others. Another type of informal learning is inquiry-based learning. This occurs when you research and figure out the answers to questions that are posed either by yourself or by somebody else. For example, suppose that you have to write a software purchase proposal for your company and that you need to include the possible risks as well as the potential benefits. This task may require you to do some research to find out more about the potential risks of adopting this software. Discovery learning, another type of informal learning, is that which is a result of experimentation, analysis, examination, and exploration. As a personal example, I'll tell you that recently I needed to develop a web page for my organization, and I did not know HTML. To really create the high quality web page that I needed, I was going to have to learn a little bit about HTML, but I didn't have time to take a course or a workshop for that matter. I figured out on my own, actually just by clicking buttons, that the inspect feature would allow me to observe the HTML code for any web page that I was currently on in my browser. By observing other HTML code on other pages, I was able to write and tinker with chunks of code that would be used for our web page. This made the task of creating a web page much easier because I was actually able to use code from other PNW sites instead of having to recreate the wheel. Finally, project-based learning, another form of informal learning, is that which occurs as a result of working to solve a poorly structured problem. You could also consider my HTML example to be project-based learning. Social learning is that which occurs through engagement and collaboration with others. For example, learning a new concept as a result of participating in an interactive breakout session at a conference, or learning something as a result of participating in a dedicated professional development or academic learning community. So there you have it again. All the different types of formal, informal, and non-formal learning experiences, many of which you've probably gone through yourself. Now it's time to take all of this reflecting that you've been doing throughout the course of these videos and record it. Assignment 1 will require you to think through the different types of learning that you have experienced and write them down, reflecting on the different types of knowledge, skills, attitudes, and abilities that you acquired or further developed as a result of that learning experience. This assignment will be very helpful to you when you go to develop your learning chronology. The learning chronology assignment will require you to create a detailed outline of all of your learning experiences, including the knowledge, skills, abilities, and attitudes acquired or developed through each of them. Together, these assignments will help you to sort through your learning experiences and decide what course at Purdue University Northwest you might qualify for academic credit for through this portfolio development process. Finally, they will be very useful when you go to develop your personal narrative and gather the required evidence of your various learning experiences that you're going to include in the portfolio. Head back to Module 1, Lesson 1 in Blackboard and review the requirements for Assignment 1, titled My Learning Experience. Good luck completing the assignment, and feel free to engage in the discussion boards or contact me if you have any questions.